Okay, Ricky, now it's time to learn how to squat. The squat is a pretty challenging movement, but now that we've learned to hinge, we're already halfway there as far as learning how to manage through our squat. The hinge itself is maximal hip flexion, so lots of bend in the hips with minimal knee flexion. When we talk about the squat, we're talking about maximal hip flexion, now maximal knee flexion as well. So not only are we having a lot of bend in the hips, we're also introducing a lot of bend in the knees as well as the ankles. That's what we call triple flexion. So that's where we are bending our hips, ankles, and knees all simultaneously together to perform the squat, and then we're going into triple extension to find our plank at the top. Remember, we're always actively planking through every single movement, and that's the foundation of all of our movements, especially in the squat as we start to perform that movement. Before we get anywhere, we have to find our active plank, and then we're thinking about still initiating with the hips, but in this movement, we're going to be adding in, bringing in the knees and the ankles to this movement. So the first thing I'd like to do is set a baseline with you on what that looks like. So I'm gonna have you come over here. Come right in front of me just so I can see what we got going on. I'm gonna have you just bring your arms right in front of you and then just show me where we're at with the squat. Okay, keep going, give me a couple there. Alrighty, so there's a couple of things that I see going on within the squat that I wanna be able to correct. So one of the things that I see is what's going on with the hips themselves and then this arch in the lower back. I have a drill that's gonna allow us to find the correct depth and stance for us so that when we come up, we can get into a better bottom position and move through that pattern more freely. Okay, so take a step back. I'm gonna have you get into your tabletop position here. So I'm gonna grab our roller, and just like with anything else, good, we're doing that cat-cow, we're resetting back to our 3 points. So go ahead and reset back down, good. Come back and grow. So we have this nice loaded torso in through this position here. So what I'm going to be looking for is I want to see when you lose this nice position here, if we have any rounding or if we have any excessive arch or if we see the hips start to tuck under, I'm going to stop you in that movement, okay? So I want you to go ahead and slowly squat back for me. Good. So we start to see we lose some stuff here. So go ahead and come back for me. I want you to take a wider stance. Good. And knees should always be tracking the toes in a squat. So wherever your toes are going, your knees should be going as well. So we're going to see, we're going to reset through here and then come back for me right through there. Great. So this is going to be our bottom position. So I want you to feel this. So go ahead and come back forward and then come back right there. Forward and then back. Good. So I want you to hang out right there in that position for me. I'm going to bring this kettlebell right in front, and I want you to go ahead and grab onto the kettlebell, and I want you to roll yourself back into this bottom position. Good. So we're going to try to maintain this position through here and then feel what this feels like. So see, now we're in a much better position through here. Raise the hips up, just stay right there. Raise the hips up just slightly and use that if you need it for a counterbalance. So now we can see we're in a much better position with those knees tracking the toes. We have a nice and neutral back and we don't have those hips tucking under. Okay, so come on back up. So let's go ahead and try that again, starting from the top and see if we can find that position that we first started with. So come on back up. Let me move this out of the way. And then go ahead and come right in front of me so I can see what we got going on. Good. So think about finding that active plank. Arms right in front. If I push some pressure, everything is nice and tight. Can you own the position? Good. So tuck those hips underneath, creating apples, not applesauce for me. And think about that bottom position that we were just in and finding that depth again by really screwing our feet into the ground and tearing the paper. Good. Much better. Think about really hiding those ribs for me. Good. Last one, and up. Perfect. Go ahead and take a step back. So as you can see within the squat itself, the squat is a movement where we want to really be able to manage a lot of load and keep a nice and stable torso. A lot of things will change with our torso positioning as we manipulate where the load is coming from. So we're going to talk a little bit more about that later. But what I wanted you to take from this drill is really what is our start and our stance, and then what is the positional competence of the bottom? What is it looking like at the bottom? When we're in the bottom, we should still be safely rooted into the ground. We want our knees tracking our toes. We don't want them collapsing inward. We want those driving outwards. And just like we talked about in the hinge, we want to create lots of torque within the hip complex itself while maintaining a stable torso, moving from this triple extension into triple flexion and then back up without having an excessive arch in the lower back, as well as dumping within the front. Okay? Right.